John Truby is known by PC Magazine for a start, and lots of other people in the industry, as the movie industry's best script doctor. Now, what is a script doctor? John Truby proved on the weekend in Sydney, just gone, that being a script doctor is something which is attainable, but it's not something that you necessarily can pick up overnight, nor is it something that you can be born with, and unless you really take it down to its natural conclusion, it's not the easiest job in the world. And John Truby is doing some more seminars this coming weekend in Melbourne. It's a pleasure to have him with us this morning. Good morning to you, John. Am I right in saying you can't be born a script doctor? It's something which is a specialised art, and there is a manner of learning it along the way, isn't there?
Absolutely. The script writing is really based on great storytelling. And it's a craft, a very complicated craft, that you really need a lot of training for. Just like any, becoming a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, there's a lot of things, a lot of techniques you have to learn, and we don't learn these things in school.
Right. You like particularly the Australian movie Lantana, from a script point of view?
Absolutely. It's a very good script.
What made it so good, John?
One of the things that you look for in a really good script is to approach a genre in a different way than it's done before. Now, Lantana is basically a crime detective story, but it doesn't do the story the way a normal crime or detective story would do it. Instead, it starts from the characters. Most detective stories start with the crime and then they play out the crime, but we don't really know the characters, so we don't really care what happens. But in Lantana, they really let you get to know the characters up front, and then when the crime part of the story kicks in, the payoff is much greater because we really care about these people.
Right. As you say, that doesn't always happen, does it?
No, it's very rare.
You declare that Titanic, the script for same, is underrated by some people. It is a good script as you see it?
It's a very good script. When it came out, everybody talked about, it was such a fantastic effects and all the great technical part that went into the filmmaking part of it. But really, the script is what made that so successful. Because again, that's a story that is normally, it's a disaster picture, really. And disaster pictures don't work very well because we introduce a lot of characters. We don't get to know them because we meet too many of them too quickly, and then the disaster hits right away. Whereas with Titanic, what they did was they started with a love story, which is the most intimate kind of story you can tell. And we really got to know and care about these two people, and then the disaster kicked in really 2/3 of the way through the picture. By then, we really cared about these people, so we were really worried about whether they would die or not.
John, is a good script somewhere between too much and too little?
Too much and too little
information?
It's how you let out the information of the story is one of the absolute essential parts of being a good writer. And depending on the kind of story you tell, for example, a detective story, you let out the information in a very different way than you say you would do in a love story. So that's some of the training that you need to know. I've worked on over 1,000 scripts, and I've seen every story problem that there is.
Right. What's the major one?
The biggest problem that writers have is plot. Plot is very underestimated. Most writers know they need to have a good character, they know that they have to have good dialogue, but plot is very complicated, and it's one of those things you really need a lot of training for. Most people think that all you really need for plot is beginning, middle, and end. In fact, what plot is, it's all about the hero and all the opponents, with a lot of things happening under the surface, with reveals that come out, surprises that happen to the audience, because that's really what the audience is interested in.
It's one of the problems these days. There are some directors who are fine directors, except they put the script second to the effect that they can get and all the gizmos that are available to a director now. So the sight is fantastic, but the reason for the sight, that original script, is sometimes lost along the way.
You put your finger on probably the most crucial element. A lot of times, especially in Hollywood movies, they think we get the people in because of the special effects. That's not what people are there for.
It's the story.
They're for the story. And that's happened in Hollywood this year. They've had a terrible year because they've forgotten that what audiences come to see is the storytelling.
Yeah, a friend of mine said, and I think it's a pretty good comment, that nowadays with many of the movies, if you go outside to buy some popcorn or whatever and come back in, you haven't missed anything. Right. Maybe a couple of effects. Right. But if you've got a good script, of course, you can't afford to leave that screen, can you?
You want to catch catch that audience and hold on to them the entire way. And you want to twist them and turn them and really suck them in. And special effects won't do that.
Just finally, you see Shrek as a great love story.
Well, Shrek is, you know, we think of animation and we think, we don't think of the script. But really the best scripts that have come out of Hollywood in the last few years have been in animation. And Shrek is one of the best. It is extremely creative. It's got all these great texture elements, all these very original jokes and so on. And it's based on this terrific love story, starting with a guy who doesn't think he deserves love. Yeah. And that's the basis of a lot of great love stories.
It's a pleasure to have you in Australia and also on GMA this morning. As I say, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming in, John.
Great for being here.
Good luck.
Thank you.